Welcome, everybody that's here. This is PhACT, the Philadelphia Association for Critical Thinking. We might not be as regular before, but we're happy to be out here now with a guest that we've had before. Our group advocates science and reason in an age where it seems to be increasingly needed. We still have our webpage up, and we could use other people willing to help us put on things. Our speaker for today is Kenny Biddle, who's been a longtime supporter of PhACT, many times speaker. He used to be a local person right here around the birthplace of freedom, and he's now moved on to Amherst and is a fellow bigwig with the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry, which is, I think, like the world's leading skeptic group that's been around for a long time. So you can, if you subscribe to Skeptical Inquirer, you can see regular articles for him. He's done hands-on investigation for a long time. Unfortunately, for people who are into skepticism, our past couple times speaker, Joe Nickel, is now probably not the ghost that he used to try to investigate, but he is no longer among the living. But he would be was happy to see the great work that Kenny Biddle has gone on trying to solve mysteries, not create them and pretend that they still exist like the more money-making shows do. So this is where I hand over to Kenny. Take it away, Kenny.
All right. So today we're going to talk about viral videos. I'm going to share my screen here so we can get into the slides. Let me see. Oh, host only. What does that mean? Who can share? Oh, host only, host only. I guess there's a,
It worked before.
let me see. There we go. PowerPoint slide. All right. Let me know if you see that.
That's good.
Okay, good. So this is my, you can see by the little subtitle, this is the workshop I did for PsyCon last October. And forgive me, some of this stuff might be a little awkward because it was made for a workshop in person. So I'm going to try and get around that as we go along. But this is based off a poster that I use. And this is the poster. It actually hangs above my desk here and is filled with strategies for solving mysteries. And that's what I do. I look at different mysteries from psychics and ghosts and haunted houses and monsters and UFOs, aliens, but also religious mysteries and just weird stuff all around. And this poster helps me a lot with figuring out which path to go down if I'm stuck. And in the bottom left side, you're going to see some things like stationary camera shot, motion blur, front back camera cut, fishing line. These are methods that are associated mostly with videos. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Mostly like TikTok and YouTube videos that have gone viral, that have a paranormal category to them or topic to them. And we're going to dive into examples of them, and I'm going to try to explain how each one is most likely done and then show you a recreation of each that I've done myself. Uh, so talking about videos, video platforms are extremely popular. You have YouTube, which everybody knows we're streaming. I think we're streaming on that now, or we will be later. But you also have Rumble, you have Instagram, Facebook, made a direct competition decision called Reels that went against TikTok because TikTok is one of the fastest growing platforms, social media platforms in history. It's the fifth largest platform now in the world. And when you look at these, when you look at the numbers that we're talking about here, you have, I like the little effects in between. I'm so proud of those. YouTube alone, if you look at these numbers, has 2.5 billion monthly active users. That's a lot of people. 2.5 billion every month are active on YouTube. And then if we go over to Instagram, we see that there is at least 2 billion active users every month. And then TikTok coming up last here is 1 billion, just over 1 billion worldwide users. And that's a lot. That's a lot of influence that people can have. And it's amazing when you look at the top social media platforms, and there's tons of them out there, but as of early 2025, the most popular social media platforms globally were Facebook at number one, YouTube, Instagram, WhatsApp, and then TikTok. And TikTok is what we're kind of going to focus on because when we look at all of these platforms, um, and especially what I do, because I have a specific genre. I have weird shit. That's what I call it because it's ghosts and monsters and aliens and stuff like that. All of these things that pop up on screen, that's what I look into. And there are channels upon channels, thousands of channels that promote videos that allegedly show any of these or all of these. But today we're going to focus more on the ones that have ghosts and or demons as their topic. And then as we look at these video techniques, these are some of the techniques we're going to go over today. And the motion blur cut, lines, as in fishing line and magician's thread, we're going to talk about that. Magnetism, the light switch. These are all terms that are my own. These are not official terms, except for the last one that says overlays and masking. That's an actual video editing terminology. The rest of these I made up myself because it looks cool on my poster. So like I said in the beginning, I'm going to give you an example of each of these techniques. So these examples that you will see first are pulled straight from TikTok. And they're going to show you a weird thing. Some of them are going to play twice. I think this first video is going to play twice. And you're going to see there's a rocking chair, and then the camera goes to the reflection of an old television, showing the chair in the reflection, and you're going to see what looks like a little person, like a child sitting in the chair. But when they turn back, it's not there in the chair. So let's take a look, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. There's an empty chair. Then we look at the reflection. Looks like there's a child sitting in the chair. And as we start going into it, did you guys hear any music? Let me know, because I don't know if I checked the audio box when I
No,
share.
we did not.
Okay, let me take a second here. I'm gonna stop and reshare, just because I want to make sure you guys hear. It wasn't really important with that clip, but as we move on, it will. Okay, so do you see the screen again?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you, Wes. So basically, in this shot, this video here, it's what I call a motion blur cut, and that's during a quick movement of the camera. So as the camera went from the chair to the TV screen reflection, there was a lot of motion in that quick movement. We're basically taking your phone, and you guys can still see me, right? Yeah, think so.
Yes, you're just a smaller.
Okay, just making sure. I'll go up close to the camera. As it goes from one view and then quickly goes to the other view, there is a lot of distance that's covered by that phone in that shot. So what you're going to see is a very motion blurred scene, like the image that you see here on the right side. This is actually a set of double doors with glass and the patio that's outside my office, and that's mid video, mid turning around. So you capture this, and this is a really good, excellent way to hide cuts, as we're going to see in the next video here. So that's an actual video. That's where that still shot was coming from. And I'll play it again so you can see how much blurring is going on. And when we watch videos, we are looking for things that we recognize, that we can process. We can't process that quick movement. So we skip over it. We basically ignore it. And it's a perfect place to hide a cut. So basically, when you want to make a video like this, you would start by pressing the record button, looking one way. Say you're walking down the hall. You record it, and then you turn around real quick. As you're turning, you hit the stop button or the pause button, because many of us now have a pause button on the video feature of our phone. You hit the pause button. And now standing in place, you can have everything mess around. You can have it changed. You can have people come in. You can have people leave the scene. You can change your entire environment if you want to. And then you go through this turning motion one more time. And again, as you're turning, you hit the record button once again, and it picks up basically where you left off. And it will show the blending, the motion blurring of that whole scene will blend together. And it almost looks like there's no cut. Some people do it so well that I have to download the videos and go frame by frame. So if we're talking about 24 to 30 frames per second, it usually is 34 or 30 frames per second. You have to go frame by frame to catch where the entire scene shifts. And you'll say, all right, that's where the break is. So the end result is basically you have two blended videos because of that one blurry motion. And I'm going to show you an example here. I love my little things here. So this is a recreation of it here in the office. There is somebody in there. Somebody's standing there. They are. I see them. There's their legs, feet, head. Nobody. Nobody. And there's nobody around. There's nobody around here. So each time you see me go from the reflection of the display case to the chair and then back again, there's a different video that's in there. They're all separate videos that I took, and my colleague Eric, who is our outreach coordinator, he was sitting in the chair, and I would stop the video, and he would just get up or sit back down. And the reason we didn't do it in a way where he just got up in between takes is because there was too much there's too much issue with the chair possibly moving, and you would pick that out. So this makes it more fluid, it makes it seamless, and it looks like you're turning the camera instantly, and there is no way that they could get out of the scene. But the whole motion blur kind of hides it. So that's one way to go about it. And we're going to move on to another technique here. So this video here, this is from a gentleman. We're going to see a lot of this gentleman. His name is Leighton, and he claimed to have a ghost in his apartment. He named the ghost Winston because reasons. And Winston caused a lot of trouble. And in this video, you're going to see the one chair that's you're seeing the profile of the chair. You're going to see this fall down. So here we go. And it's not much. It's a quick video. The only gentleman that's in the room is sitting on the couch, and he gets up there. And you may wonder, like, how could this be possible? How can he sit on the chair, or like in profile at a right angle to it, and still make that chair fall backwards instead of like towards him, or at least away from him? And in these kind of cases, it's pretty simple. It's fishing line. There's fishing line, there's thread, there's magician's line. Depending on what you want to move, you do these various methods, various threads or something like that. Like I have the fishing, or no, this is showing thread here. And I've used this to move pictures, dolls, because you want to make haunted dolls move around or something like that. I've used simple thread, and as long as it's black, it blends in. I mean, you probably can't even see it on the screen, even though it's little. There's also fishing line, which ironically, I call mine Leighton line, and that's because for months, the gentleman that made this chair video, I was giving him hell. He was putting out a video every single day of something paranormal, and every single night I was recreating that video and posting it and tagging him in it and saying this is how it was done. So eventually I just called my fishing line Leighton line. Just honestly, I just wanted to get on his nerves. That's what I was doing. But if you want to do smaller objects, especially closer to the camera, there's something called magician's thread, which is what you see on the left side of the picture here. It's very thin. You'd have to look closer. I'm sure you can see it, but the thread actually looks hair thin. It's very, very tiny, and it's almost invisible, completely invisible to a camera. But even the sewing thread and the fishing line, if you have the right lighting conditions. If it's low light situation, you can hide that line. I've taken the fishing line that you see in the picture here, the Leighton line, and you can see it's a thick line. But I've had that going from a chair in the middle of a room and running right back to the camera. I was standing right next to the camera, and the line is literally inches from the lens, but it couldn't see it because I had the lighting down low and there was no light directly onto the line. So it completely hid it from view. Um, Low resolution also helps. If you notice, a lot of ghostly videos are not in they're not in high def. They're not 8K. They're not anywhere near high def video. They're usually very low quality, and many of them look like they're from the 90s with an old VHS camera. They're very horrible, and that helps hide any fishing line as well. So what I'm going to show you next is a recreation of this. This is my house. This is my dining room set, my old dining room set, and you're going to see the chair is going to do a similar movement. The black thing on the floor, that's a cushion. It's a blanket that's folded up because my wife is tolerant when I start experimenting with furniture for the most part, but also when I start rearranging furniture, she gets a little upset. So I have to make sure I ensure I don't break anything, which sometimes happens. But here we go. So pretty simple. It wasn't that hard to do, and I'll play it again. But it shows that, and you're going to see how I did it in a second here. It shows that you can make objects move towards you, because that's usually the obvious answer, is that if you're using fishing line, then something is being pulled towards you. But you can wrap it around things to make an object go away from you, like go away from the camera, or it can go sideways. And all you have to do is wrap it around something like the table. And that's exactly what I did. I actually had the line running from the leg of the chair going up around the table. Oh, you can't. Can you see that? Can you see my cursor? I think so. I hope so.
Yes.
Okay. Um, thank you so much, Wes. I'm sorry I keep asking questions.
It's okay. Everybody else is muted, so it's
Okay. All right. So yeah, it came up across the top of the table and then out here, and then I will show you this is how it was done. And that's it. I mean, it's basically me standing off the side. I had a camera just sitting there, or my wife pulls the line for me. And it's very simple to do. And if I wanted to, I could, from where the camera was in the first video off to the side, I could just run the line around a leg and bring it to myself, and then I can make anything happen. I've actually made that entire dining room set, all actually 6 chairs and the dining room table, all moved towards the camera with nothing more than yarn. I didn't even use fishing line. It was yarn that I used because I was trying to recreate a scenario from the 1980s. In a normal, everyday family home, what would I find in there? And yarn was the best choice. So I was able to move it. And that's an old set. So that table, those chairs each weigh about 18 pounds each. And then the table alone, I think that measured in at like 60 pounds. So that's a lot, but yarn could do it. All right, we're going to go into, oh, this is a fun one. So what you're going to hear a gentleman speaking over this video. This is another TikTok video where the gentleman puts a banknote, foreign banknote inside of a plastic container, and he's talking about me because this is Leighton, and he is upset because, as you'll hear, I debunked one of his videos, and he was very upset about it. So he tried to take it to the next step and make a banknote move around within a sealed container. So he wasn't using line. He wasn't using anything to kind of blow it with air or anything like that. And I'll just play it and you can see how it goes here.
Yesterday, Kenner debunked me, so it's time to raise the stakes. I'm going to seal the box. He claimed I was using a turkey baster to blow air underneath the tub. Now that's not a possibility, Kenner. When you're ready, Winston, make the Queen dance. Oh, now Kenny's in trouble. Oh, Kenny, what are you going to do, my friend?
So after seeing this, I mean, this was the kind of rivalry we had. We went back and forth, and it was, I had fun for a while because it was educational for some people. I was able to teach people how these magic tricks were done, and that's exactly what they are. They're magic tricks. And in this case, it was magnets. It was using magnets in addition to bits of metal on the banknote itself. So basically what you can do is you tape pieces of metal, and you'll see in a second. I actually took a paper clip, and I was able to clip off pieces of the paper clip and just attach the metal strands to the dollar bill and make it move. Magnetic force will go through things like plastic and wood. So you can have a magnet off to the side or under a table and manipulate something that has any kind of metal inside of it. Camera placement in this instance is very important because if you look at this still shot, this is from his video, and once he sealed it in there and turned it around once to show that there was no lines attached to it, he moved the camera in this close so you can't see off to the left or right and you don't know what's happening. And when we look at the video itself, I'm going to go back to this. When we look at the video, and there he is, turns it around, he goes in close now. And if we watch from here, most of the movement, you'll notice, comes from the right side.
Queen dance. Oh, now Kenny's in trouble. Oh, Kenny.
You can see how it flittered and fluttered on the right side. It went back and forth a little bit, but most of the movement, the fluttering moment, came from one side, which is probably him holding the camera in one hand, and in his right hand, he has a magnet on the side, and it was manipulating it. So this was fun. I wasn't sure exactly how he did it at first, because going back before this video, he had done it without a container, and I used things like a turkey baster to blow the money around. And even with other pieces of paper surrounding that banknote, I was able to move just the banknote with a turkey baster, just blowing little puffs of air. So this was a little bit more difficult. I had to make sure I could replicate it, and I did. And you'll see the long version of this video.
Oh, Kenny, what are you going to do, my friend?
Oh my goodness, what will I ever do now? Recreate it. Let's go. So you can see I actually set up two cameras with two different angles to better show that I could manipulate it even when somebody was looking from the side. We're gonna go in tight here, just like he
Right in the
did.
center so that you can see everything going on. Let's see what happens. Can we make it move? Oh, look at that. Wow, look at that. Pretty cool. Anything under? No. 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 There's a trash can. Just there. Nothing there. Come on, Winston, can you make it do it again? Can you? Oh, you can. You can. Look at this. Look at this.
So that was a good recreation. And I can show you, I can try and show you here. So I have the banknote that I used. And when you look at it, I know that I'm probably really small right now. Actually, I'm gonna stop sharing and reshare when I'm done here. So hold on a second. So there's the banknote that I used, and you can see like it's just a normal banknote. And I used this one specifically because it had clear versions or clear sections on it. But what you don't see is that when you go in real close, you can see that little piece of metal. There's one there, and then there's one hidden on the number 1. You can see the shiny edge of the number 1 there. And that was enough to let me manipulate it from underneath. I had a magnet underneath, and it was much easier to manipulate this like that. But I could also manipulate it from each side and on the top. Not a problem whatsoever. So let me share this again. This is fun. I'm having fun. I hope you guys are having fun because I'm enjoying this. uh, so yeah, he was very upset with that, and I actually made one where I was on a concrete floor out in the lobby. So I was on the floor, so there's nothing that could be underneath, and I was able to manipulate it with a magnet being about 6 inches from the side, which actually made this video better because now it showed a wider view. It wasn't just tucked in; it was a wider view, and I was still able to manipulate it. Uh, all right, moving on to another technique here. This video was sent to me. It had, the last I saw, one channel had 2 million views of this. And it was very convincing. The comments that you see was like, holy crap, I can't believe that's real. That's absolutely real. I can't believe it. So we take a look.
Hello?
So that's interesting. I call that the ghost that's afraid of the light, because as soon as you turn the light on, it went away. And it's a very cool technique. It's a quick technique. It's called the light switch cut. That's what I call it because when you turn a light on or off, you have a few, like a half a second where there's a distortion. You're going from a light to dark environment or a dark to light environment. And while you're taking the video, you can do the same technique as with the motion blur. That's the technique that we started with, where as you're filming, as soon as you turn the light on, you hit pause. Or right before you turn the light on, you hit pause. You can do this with a light switch or with a flashlight. So in the case of the video that you just watched, he used a flashlight. And there's a cool trick with flashlights that hopefully you guys hear this, but when you click on most push button flashlights, there's 2 clicks like that. I don't know if you're hearing that, but there's 2 clicks. And that means that I can click once and then actually I'll click once and then I stop the video. We reposition everybody. We take the ghost person out of the scene, and then without moving, I start the video again, and the second click turns on the light, and it looks like they disappeared. It's a really cool trick, and it's you can do it within a couple minutes. It's not a big deal. The quick change from a dark to a light scene or vice versa, the transition gives you how do I want to say it? It gives you a chance to hide things right in plain view. I'm going to play this video here. I think I have to click on it, play, but you're going to see as I'm in a room, there's no editing going on, but all I'm doing is flipping a light switch on and off. And I want you to pay attention to how dark it gets and how washed out the entire scene gets. So you can see there's times when it's pitch black and also when it gets really, really bright. Let me see if I can catch that. Like right there. What I can do is actually stop it right here. I could pause the video or even if I'm doing editing later, I can cut it right there and then hide somebody in that area where it's all washed out, where there's nothing, where is it? Where there's nothing to see. Everything is blended together. And then I can have someone standing there, start filming again, and again, turn the lights on and off until I get oh, where'd I go? Hold on a second. There we go. I can do it until I hit another scene where everything is washed out, even though my person is still there, and then blend them together, and you have a video where suddenly you turn the light switch on, there's either someone there or someone's disappeared, and it's a really cool effect. Let me see. I'm going to show you an example. This is Nicole Scott stars in this one. I want to give her a shout out because she's our managing editor of Free Inquiry, and she was more than willing to be the creepy person that's on a cart. So I hope you enjoyed this part of the video.
through here. What's that?
And there's there's Nicole Scott, and the picture on the right. That's exactly what you saw when I turned the light on the first time. She was still there, but because of the 2 clicks of the flashlight, I just cut it at the first click. She climbed off of the cart and left the room, and then I just started filming again and blended them together, which is very simple. And I hope what you're getting out of this is so far is that many of these are just practical effects. There's really no editing needed yet. These are all practical effects that anyone can do. Again, when you're, once again, I'm gonna stop sharing so you guys can see me. But when you start taking video, I'm gonna show you my phone here. I'm gonna try to. On most phones now, when you start taking video and you push that button, you can see that right here you have a pause button and a stop button right there. So if I start taking video around and I decide that I want to just pause that same video, I touch that, it's still going to be one file when I start filming again. So I hit record, I film the rest of my scene once I changed everything or someone appears or disappears, whatever I want to set up. And when I stop the video altogether, it is one file. It doesn't look like 2 files. There's no blending. There's no metadata that tells you, hey, this is multiple files blended together. It is one file. So it's a great technique for making movies and videos, but it also makes it easier for people to fake videos like we're seeing in these things here. So let me share again. And I will, there we go. Okay, good. Move on to the next technique here. And we'll play, I forget what this is. Oh, this is a good video. You're gonna see this is a typical poltergeist type video. And it's a very common theme. It's a very common type of video that we see on TikTok. So I'll play it and just let you view it, and we'll discuss it when it's done. All right. I don't think I shared the audio again. So hold on a second. I want to make sure that you guys get the full experience. Oh, share sound. Okay. It is checked. My bad. All right. So in this video, this is what I call the go around maneuver. And this is, again, a practical effect. It's very simple to do when the person walks into the kitchen. All right. So walking up to we're actually going to go back and we're going to go step by step on this. So we have this original video. The kitchen light is going off and on, which is going to be scary if you're home alone. For anyone, that's going to be scary. And honestly, the first thing I would do would not be to take my phone out and film a TikTok video. It just wouldn't be. I would get out of the house, call 911, something like that. Something other than, filming for my TikTok channel. But yet here we are. Okay. So when you go up to the doorway, in this situation, first of all, this is a big room. I would have given it a wide arc so that I can actually see a lot without walking straight up to the doorway in case there was somebody there. And when you go into the doorway, most of us would actually just turn into the doorway. I want you to pay attention when this person goes into the doorway. They actually do a very quick movement forward and a sidestep. So instead of turning into the room, they do forward and sidestep. I want you to watch for that. So what that just did was allow her accomplice, which is standing behind her right now. He was standing off to the side, off to the right, because that's where the light switch is. It's on the wall behind her where we're looking right now. But he simply stepped out of the room and is behind her. And as she looks around the room now, she's going to look everywhere. She's looking around. I'm going to see if I can stop this right where the light switch is. She's backing out of the room instead of walking. And actually, wait, there we go. So the light switch is right here. And instead of actually turning around and walking out of the room, which would show the camera the entire room that she's walking into now, she backs out and then turns to the same direction that she came in from. And again, this hides the person that's standing behind her. So as soon as she turns here, she walks away and the accomplice goes back into the kitchen. And now he starts turning the lights on, moving things around. And then as she gets closer, she goes to the side. That way you get more of the I love that scream. You get more of the door frame, and that's more of a contrast to the person that's wearing probably a hat or a hoodie here. So it's called the go around method because it is exactly what they do. They go around the person that's causing the experience. You take a wider than normal arc around that person. It's very obvious when you do it on camera because most people don't realize when you're holding a camera, they're trying to keep it away from filming their accomplice. You don't want them to be seen. So you're trying to do these dramatic movements to keep them out of frame. But it's unnatural. It's not the way we walk around. That's not the way we would enter a room like that. And it's certainly not the way a terrified person would film. They would be all over the place, going back and forth, looking everywhere that they are looking. So we were able to recreate this with the help of my dear friend, Melanie Tresik King. Oh, there we go.
Ghost videos are pretty popular on TikTok. I'm visiting my friend Kenny Biddle, who is a paranormal investigator. And so we decided to recreate a ghost video. Okay, so I'm by myself at CFI and I see these lights are flickering. Oh my god, I closed these cabinets. Oh. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna get out of here. Oh. I want to see how we did it? Here's behind the scenes.
So this is going to be fun, and I hope you really enjoy it because this shows the practical nature of these magic tricks. I also want to point out that the music, we have an organ cam. That is Anthony Tresik King. That's Melanie's husband, who is on an organ that we have in our lecture hall. And you can see it's right across from the kitchen. And he was playing music that he just made up on the spot. And that's the creepy music that you hear in the background. I had to give him a shout out. And Eric Schaefer is the guy that's with the light switch.
Okay, so I'm by myself at CFI and I see these lights are flickering. Oh my god, I closed these cabinets. just gonna get out of here. Oh.
I love that video because it's a great demonstration of how easy it is to hide someone. Because you can have someone right next to you the whole time or right off to the side. And as long as you're controlling the camera, and we only rehearsed this twice. We just went through the motions once to get an idea, like an outline of what we wanted to do. We ran through it once in real time and it said, I think we got it. And we filmed it and it worked out great. And what I'm going to show you next is let me see if it starts. All right, it doesn't start right away. This is a bonus episode or a bonus video for this same idea of how you can hide someone in plain sight. And basically what this is, and you'll see the comment there above my head. This is again in relation to my friend Leighton, the TikToker that does a ghost video every day. I was challenging him because things would happen in his apartment, and I kept complaining that he wasn't showing the entire room. He would turn the camera a little bit, but he wouldn't show you anything, and it was quite possible there was somebody else in there helping him. And so we were going back and forth arguing about 360 views, basically spinning the camera all the way around the room, not fast, but enough that you can see everything and if anyone was in the room. And I explained to him in this video that it doesn't matter even if you did that. And you'll see why here. Yep, wait a minute. There we go. All right, so I see your comment here, and you say your door is locked, and you do 360 spins. So the video that I actually stitched, and you're commenting on here, it's a compilation video that you did. So oops. Uh-oh. I don't see any 360 spins. You kind of just go from like where the event happens and you go over like this and you show that. I mean, a 360 is all the way around. Like, you know, you want to show everywhere around, all the way back to the beginning. And even with that, you can still have someone hiding right next to you. So it doesn't matter if you do the 360 spins because there's ways around it. So with that video, my wife, who you saw there at the end, she's literally standing in front of me. So the entire time I'm doing this, I'm holding the camera up right at her forehead, and we're just spinning around at the same time. She's keeping time with me, so that as soon as I stopped and said, even doing a spin, and then she walked out next to me, which shows that you can hide someone right under the camera. And it's pretty simple. It's a very practical effect, and it's very effective because it looks really cool. Like she appears out of nowhere. All right, we're gonna go with another technique here, and this you're finally getting to see what Leighton looks like. This is Leighton. This is one of his videos here. What he's holding is a balloon. It's not a soccer ball. It's a balloon. He's laying on the couch, and what you see in the next to him here, this is a broken mirror. That's a whole nother story. But he put the mirror up so that you can see the reflection of the camera, which is right there. That's his camera set up on a tripod in the reflection. There's a Ouija board there because why not? And then the broken pieces of this glass. And you're going to see what he's considering paranormal activity that he got his ghost, again, named Winston, he got his ghost to do. So this is interesting. So this is, we're actually getting into actual editing techniques here, or actual editing terminology. That video made use of overlays and masking. So overlay is basically, it's a technique where you take several videos, and you can do this with images, still images too, but you take several videos and you pretty much layer them on top of each other. So everything you see on screen right now, these are individual layers. So where it says video techniques in yellow, that's a layer. The overlays and masking, white text on the blue background, that's a layer. The photo you see there is a layer, and then even in text, that's all layers that are on the same plane where you're looking at it and it all looks like a flat image, which after I was done, it was a flat image. But using these kind of techniques, you can stack videos, and then using another technique called masking, that allows you to pretty much poke holes in a layer so that you can see either through that hole, or that hole is the only thing that you are able to see. So basically, it allows you to see through to different layers. So if I want to take a video of a lobby here and want to make somebody appear out of nowhere, like appear in the middle of the room without actually coming in from either side of the scene, you can do that with a mask. And basically, you overlay 2 videos of that same exact scene, and you put what's called a mask in one spot where your person is standing, and then he simply walks out of that area and he appears out of nowhere. It's a very cool effect, and you can do blending and stuff like this. This is actual editing. This is not practical effects. But I want to show you an example of this. I'm going to replicate that balloon video, it almost shot for shot, and then show you exactly how I did it. So you can see I also have a mirror there, and a Ouija board because reasons. Running my arm around it, showing you that there's nothing underneath of it. You can see the flash from my camera there for a second. There it is right there. And then now I'm going to show you exactly what I did. So that's the actual setup. That whole video that you just watched, there was a fan there with boxes, and this is me setting it up. Sorry about my butt shot. I apologize. Now, what you'll see here, I'm going to go in between using a mask and not using a mask. So there is a mask here right now. And basically where the fan and the boxes that are holding up the fan, they're actually in the shot. But I took earlier footage when there was no fan there. And I didn't move the camera at all. Everything's exactly the same. And I simply took a chunk of that earlier video and I layered it on top of this so that it covers the fan so you don't see it. And you'll see in a second it'll blink back into existence here. And there it is. And that took some time. That takes a little editing skills to understand what you're doing and make sure all the lighting is perfect. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty quick. I can make these in a few minutes. It's not that hard once you have the footage. And then a bonus, a stationary camera shot. So what you just saw was a stationary shot. Sometimes we do the camera's moving around, and that's much more difficult because now you have to track the shot. You have to track all the motion of the scene and anything in the scene in order to manipulate it and do special effects. But when you have a standing camera, and this is something you should look for, when somebody shows you a video of an alleged ghost or some kind of activity that happens where people disappear or appear out of nowhere, same with objects, is the camera stationary? Because if it is, that's the easiest way to manipulate footage, because you have a static shot, you don't have to adjust anything else, and you can take footage from later or earlier in the day of that same camera as long as it didn't move. So I'm going to show you an example here. I like to put this in because this is my dog Rummy, and you're going to see that she does this amazing trick where she can disappear on her own. So let's, oh, wait, that's not what I want to show. Go back. As you can see, we're almost at the end. all done with a stationary camera, and that's pretty much it. There was very little editing going on here, um, and it was basically one shot. It's one continuous shot that I used, and then just used actually a snapshot from earlier before we started this video. But you'll see in a second that she comes right back and she's all good. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. This is some information. If you're interested, this is who I work for, Center for Inquiry, and of course the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry. That's the subdivision that I work for. And we are a nonprofit, and your subscriptions. So if you want to subscribe to Skeptical Inquirer, that helps all of us out and helps me continue my investigations and bring workshops and lectures like this to the public and teach people, how to spot BS, how to spot bullshit. That's basically what it comes down to. So yeah, again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to stop sharing. And if there's any questions coming up, I will be happy to answer anything to the best of my ability. There you go.
Just move in and take a first question. Someone's got to be first. Of the things that you present the skeptical point of view for, I'm not using the simple word debunk, which of those subjects do you see as growing, or are there other ones that you see as finally fading away?
I don't see any fading away, because social media platforms that like TikTok, I mean, that's still popular. That's very popular, and anybody can get on it. And once they start, it depends on what their interests are. And these little tricks, some of these are quite easy to do, depending on how complicated you want the video. Some of these are very easy to do. Others require more coordinated efforts, like the one I did with Melanie Teresa King. Like that it took us twice to run through it, but it took three of us to do the whole thing. Four if you count Anthony's awesome theatrical music in the background, but it took three of us to actually pull that off. And then just looking at making sure everything was out of sight, what we wanted to do. When it comes to something that's growing, AI is definitely in there. And I know it was mentioned that I didn't mention it in the video. And I focus more on practical and easy effects, or very easy editing. I'm looking at the bigger picture of more amateur or slightly professional paranormal enthusiasts that want to build a channel. They're not going to use too much AI, especially right now, because it's still growing and there's still a lot of uncanny valley that comes along with these kind of videos, especially when we're dealing with supernatural themes. I mean, I've dealt with AI. I use AI in order to generate images and video in order to demonstrate things. And it still has a problem with this genre, this subject matter, because trying to describe a demon is very difficult. Like, I know what it means and I have pictures, I have a lot of references in my head, but trying to, when you try to do a simple description, it usually comes out really weird. And then when you try to refine your description, it also comes out, it's tough for us because, like, well, how do I describe a demon in detail? And you can do like red skin, horns, a tail, and still the stuff that you get is weird. It looks like, like someone on acid decided to draw a picture. It's kind of out there. But yeah, I try to stay on the more practical stuff, the more that's methods that are available to anyone at any time, and you don't necessarily need editing software or any kind of software to do, except for the last technique with the overlays and masking. Every other technique you can do in camera. You don't need any editing software, really. You can do it just with the pause button on your video camera. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that's a good answer. At the end of the chats are some questions from other people.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, wonderful. You didn't mention, yeah, fabrication by AI, deep fakes like that. I haven't gone into that. I need, again, that's why I stay on practical stuff. I stay on anything that's available to anyone, accessible to anyone. And yeah, you can subscribe to AI services and or deep fakes, but it usually takes a lot more work to put something out. And most of the community that I engage with aren't that technically savvy. They're not going to get into that. How long does it take to reenact these videos? That's a good question. It really depends. Sometimes it takes me all of 5 minutes. I did 2 videos yesterday, yesterday during the day. Or maybe it was the day. I did 2 where I recreated. One was having an object appear in a flash above at the ceiling and land in front of me on a table. And that took altogether from start to finish 15 minutes. And that's setting up, that's getting Eric to come help me with it, throwing the package up in the air, having flashes go off at the same time, and then just using the finished product. It wasn't practical. Most of it was practical, but I did have editing in it a little bit. I had to use an overlay in order to get the finished product. So that was pretty simple. And then there was another one where there's a hand that apparently it was from my buddy Leighton, and he's sitting on a couch or laying on a couch that's up against a wall with only about 6 inches of space, and apparently a hand pops out with a knife and waves it around and then disappears behind the couch again. And I was able to recreate that with a folding table out in the lobby here, where you could see underneath the table. You could see everywhere. And I was still able to make a hand with a knife pop out from behind the table and wave around and come down. And again, that took all of 15 minutes to put together. So it depends on skill. It also depends on what you're trying to recreate. Sometimes I have no idea. I see a video and I'm like, I have no idea how they did this. So it might take me an entire day or two to work out the details. Like, how would I do this? And I might call some friends. There's a magician that I work with sometime, Dustin Dean. Really nice guy. If you can get him for a talk, that would be amazing, because he's a mentalist and magician. But I've worked with him on some things like this and run ideas past him. And we work together and we figure it out. And once you figure it out, we start filming. And then along the way, you figure out what works and what doesn't work. Some tricks will work better. Some things don't appear on camera as good. And you want to get it. My goal is not just to recreate an alleged paranormal video. I want to make it better than they did. So that's just me. I want to make it better than they did, just to show, like, you can not only make it cleaner, but in the case with the banknote that was in the container, I had 2 views. So you saw an overhead view, but you also saw a side view, so that I couldn't have a magnet on the sides. And that shows, like, oh wow, everything we thought this guy was doing, maybe he wasn't doing it. How did I do it? And it's the fun game. Because sometimes I put out videos like that where I don't tell you how I did it, and at the end of the video, I'm like, tomorrow I'll show you the behind the scenes. But for now, what do you think I did? Like, how do you think I accomplished this? So hopefully that answered your question. Let me see what else we did. How can we as skeptics most effectively engage with others on the platform when we see these kind of videos? Hey, John Michael. All right. I know John. I would say the most effective method I found is recreating them. I think that's the best way, because if you can show not only a recreation of it, but behind the scenes. So if I think about it beforehand, because sometimes I get tunnel vision, I get so excited that I know how the video was done that I focus on creating it. And then I film behind the scenes afterwards. But when I have the presence of mind to say, oh, you know what, set up another camera, with a wide view. That's what I usually do. I set a camera off to the side. It's got a wide angle lens so that it sees everything that I'm doing behind the scenes. And I will put that at the end of my videos. And it says like, hey, here's the original, here's my recreation. Now here's how I did it. And that educates the viewer of, oh, that's a cool trick. Like the go around method. That has had the most impact when I show people the sudden move forward and sidestep that people usually do to walk around their accomplice. That's not a normal action. We just simply don't do that normally when we're walking around the house. But when you do it in a video like that, it's very noticeable. It stands out. But for a first-time viewer, they're usually focused on the scary part. You know, they have the scary music already playing. It's usually dark. They're looking at their phones like really close, going, oh, here comes the jump scare. Here it comes. And they're not paying attention to what the person holding the camera is actually doing. So my answer would be the most effective way is to recreate these videos and show behind the scenes. And if you can't do that, I would ask some questions. You know, if questions pop up on the original video, ask some questions. You're probably going to get ignored, at least by the creator, and other people are going to be like, oh no, I believe it, I believe this. But you can at least ask some questions like, how do you know this, or how did you do, where did this come from, or why don't you set a camera up in the kitchen if the last 6 months you've put a video up every day of the cabinets opening by themselves, but we only see the aftermath. Why didn't you put a camera in there during it? So we can see the cabinets actually opening. That would be cool. So I hope that answered your question, John. Let's see. What else do we have? Have these viewers not seen at least one Scooby-Doo episode? Sadly, no. I mean, I wish I know there's different versions of Scooby-Doo that are out. And I think that's a show that needs to be recycled, and not the newer versions because they kind of get silly, but the classic version, just replay it. I think that should be standard procedure for anyone that calls themselves a ghost hunter. They should have to sit down and watch the entire run of Scooby-Doo just to see how many different ways you could solve a mystery. Because, I mean, it is educational. Let me see. Dustin is great. Yep. Randy used to tick off paranormal scammers by doing their tricks better than they could. Like you did with the bang note. Thank you. Yeah, I love doing that. I love making it better than they did because that shows that can sometimes show the sloppiness of their work. And one thing I want to point out too is when you suspect that they're using something like an overlay or a mask, where they're kind of camouflaging part of the scene, so you don't see something until they want you to see it. If they don't get the lighting correct, you'll see lines. So one of the first things I do is look at, like I'll bring it into my own editing software and I'll adjust the brightness. And when you do that, usually if there's different lighting between scenes, it'll show up. For example, because I mentioned that I'll take some video before I actually do the event, and I use that as a base because there's nothing going on. There's no objects, there's nothing in there, and I can use it as a base and add in objects if I want to. But if I do it out here in our lobby, we have a skylight and we have various other windows. So during the day, the sunlight changes, and you can pick that up. Within a few seconds, there could be more light on a scene than there was when you started. And if you cut different clips out and put them together, that shows up. So when you adjust the brightness of a video, you can usually pick out a square in the middle of the scene that doesn't belong there. And it's just slightly out of sync with the rest of the video. Also looking at lines. The video with the balloon, where the gentleman is on this couch and he puts the balloon and it's floating. One of the easy ways that I figured out what he was doing is because I zoomed in on, of all things, the Ouija board, and noticed that the top of the Ouija board during the video goes like this. it shakes up and down where nothing else does. And if you look at the edge, the side of the Ouija board, the top still went like this, but the edge didn't move. It was out of sync. That's because he had a mask right there, and the edge of that mask was on the top of that Ouija board. So at some point during filming, his camera bounced a little bit, and that gave him away. So hopefully that answered that question. I wonder if others learning from your bag of tricks to create ghost videos. So that's always a concern, that people will watch lectures that I do or videos that I do and think, oh, I can do that now. I know how to do that. That's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about that. My goal is to educate you and anyone else that's watching it on the same tricks. So when you do come across a video, if somebody makes a video based on what I taught them, and then you see it later, you're going to recognize the tricks. And hopefully you don't buy into it, and then you can engage in conversation with other people that might bring it to you. I get that a lot where people show up at events here and they'll say, what do you think of this video? And I look at it and go, we can recreate it. And in fact, I have recreated this video, and here we go, and we can talk about it. And it busts that belief. It busts it open, and they don't bother with it anymore. They'll see those videos in the future, and they say, well, I know how this is done now. And hopefully they scroll right past it. Do you think TV shows like Unsolved Mysteries are finally declining in popularity? I think so. Just because they're not really showing too much mystery anymore. But I mean, I grew up with it, so I have nostalgia. I mean, I loved it. The older ones, when you go through the earlier seasons of like Unsolved Mysteries, it's painful to watch. But I think with like, at least with our community, we're going to look at those shows and we're going to fact check. At least for me, I sit there anytime I watch like Forensic Files. I'm addicted to Forensic Files. I will watch that all the time with my phone next to me, or usually it's because I'm in a hotel room and that's the only thing that I like that's on the hotel TV. So I'm watching Forensic Files. I'll have my laptop out and I'm looking up the facts. I'm looking up the locations, the people, the situation, and I find that even they get it wrong. They get information wrong sometimes, and I think that's a good practice to have. Whether they're declining or not, I don't know, but I would say that if you are watching it, don't take it at face value, because even though they mean well, they're still doing this for entertainment. They still need viewers to watch and be entertained for that entire half hour or hour. So fact check. And that will help make you a better investigator, because as you look into the names and places and experiences and dates, you're going to come across things that are wrong, and you might do a deeper dive into it. And that builds that skill set of investigating these mysteries. Good question. I like that. That's a good point about not putting a camera up after months of, yeah, I see that all the time. And that's one of my number one questions. Like, why don't you have a camera? If somebody has kitchen cabinets that open all the time, put a freaking camera on there. Like, just put a camera in the kitchen and it'll solve all your problems. But they're not going to do that, because that will kill the surprise. That will kill the mystery, and you don't want that. They want people to keep coming back and watching the same videos over and over. Do you think schools are doing an okay job teaching critical thinking? Or what is your take on skeptical Gen Z is, or how skeptical? So I can only speak to a few schools, because I have done classes and lectures for schools. I go into grade school and high schools and do classes like this, talk about videos, especially TikTok videos, because they love that. The younger generation loves it, and it's good to, hit them where they live. They live online, so let's look at these videos in particular. My experience and interaction with a lot of these schools has been, there is a good deal of skepticism. I don't know if all schools are teaching a class on critical thinking. I happen to have a school near me, there's a class on critical thinking taught by Tim Redman, who is one of our local speakers here. I've worked with him. He's an author, longtime school teacher, really nice guy. But he teaches a class on critical thinking, and I come in every year and I do a talk for his class. And the kids that I engage with are full of questions. They're shy. I give them that. They're shy, but they do ask questions and they don't accept things at face value, which is encouraging. But unfortunately, I don't see that all the time. And I really would like to get into different schools and do more of these kind of talks. And I would encourage you guys to do that too. Just put together a program about critical thinking, what it is, how it can help with everyday things. Because critical thinking is not just for extraordinary claims, it's for everyday life. Whether it's products we're buying, services we're looking to hire, or medicine that we're going to take, or whether we should believe a house is haunted or, a monster is in my backyard. It's good across the board. So if we can get programs together that showcase critical thinking, again, what it is, how it can be used in everyday life, and how it can be used especially with extraordinary claims, and then reach out to schools and or even host lectures at the libraries. Get to the local libraries. And I know up here, I don't remember how it is down in Philly, but up here we can schedule lecture halls for free. As long as we're a nonprofit, we can do that, and we can host a lecture, which is something that I think all of our groups should be doing. All right, let me see. Do you think schools? There it is. Identical twin egg splits. If PhACT wanted to get into local school and do something like this, so all right, what would you recommend? Start by reach out to. I would go to the school's website, do the contact me kind of thing, and just explain who you are, and what you would like to offer the school, and that's the start. From there, it depends on the school and the faculty, how they want to approach it or how they want to pursue it. For us, like we contacted University of Buffalo is across the street. Excuse me. And we contacted the librarian over there. Walked over. You can't do that with the high schools now, but the college we walked over and went into the library, talked to the head librarian, and gave her a proposal of like, we want to come over and engage and offer our services, that we can we have speakers that'll come in and talk to you about critical thinking and other topics that are of interest. And it's in the schedule for a meeting that happened last week. So this week we should know what the results are. But I think, I don't know what department to contact. I would start with well, it depends. Like a science department would be good, because a lot of our critical thinking has to do with today's science and the issues that science is facing. Plus, when it comes to investigating weird stuff like I do, I mean, it's you're implying science or employing science into your methods. So that might be the first department to reach out to, or even just the librarian of different schools, and go that way. But I would definitely start with the contact page of whatever school that you're looking to approach. Or if you know the teachers, if you know any of the teachers, reach out to them and they will give you a better idea of who to contact. And it also might look better coming from the teacher that already works there, that they are recommending you. So let's see. Is it really yellow rain? I don't know what that is. I just gave a talk last night about critical thinking when it comes to alternative medicine. Ooh, there's another speaker for you, Kat Mack, who's in the chat. If you're interested, she does an excellent talk about her story, her personal story that she's written about and spoken about before, about alternative medicine. It's really good and it's very impactful. So I would highly recommend reaching out to her for another talk. Critical thinking for spotting AI hallucinations is something we are trying to teach in universities. That would be great. That would be amazing. Actually, I will get you, if you want, the email for Tim Redman, which is the gentleman I mentioned earlier. he has done a talk for CFI here on the use of AI and when it comes to propaganda. It's more on the political stage and talking about propaganda films and stuff like that, videos, and using AI and to manipulate those and get people to say things that they actually didn't say, and so forth. So I can get you in touch with him, and he would be another excellent speaker for you guys to go over that thing, that topic itself. Let's see. Does CFI do any teaching around how to avoid being scammed? Financial, romance, alternative, medicine? What I can say is look at through the various articles that we have and the lectures that we have. I know that many of the like the PsyCon lectures have been posted so far, but from years past, they're up there and they do go into alternative medicine, which we all know is not medicine. Um, I don't know about financial and romance per se. That's out of my. I deal with dead people and aliens and stuff. I don't deal with the romance. That's somebody else's department. But we do have. We're coming up on 50 years for CFI. That started at PsyCop in '76. So next year will be our 50th anniversary. So you have 50 years worth of literature from Skeptical Inquirer, Free Inquiry. So you can search all of that. That's most of that stuff is searchable on the database on the skepticalinquirer.org or CFI, and go from there. There's also a lot of videos, like I mentioned. Like I do my own series, but that's all paranormal kind of stuff. And then all the lectures from our various conferences, which deal with different topics, a lot of different topics. I don't remember anything about finances, so that might be something that if you're interested, you can write about. I mean, that would be something. We're always looking for contributors. So, if you want to reach or write something for SI or FI, reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with the right people here, and we can go from there. Melanie Teresa King has great resources. Yes. If you're a teacher and you want different resources, well, first you can go on to like Science Saves, and Bertha Vasquez is our educational director, and she does a lot of educational stuff like that. So you can look on CFI for our departments for that. And then also Melanie Teresa King runs a website called Thinking is Power. And there's a lot of good information on there, lesson plans and stuff like that. So these are good resources that you can use and that are pretty much free. I think all of them are free for anyone to use. So that's a good benefit. We need free. We definitely need free. So, but I think that's it. I think that's all the questions. I hope I got to all the questions.
It looks to me like you got them all. Unless there's any other stuff that has to be said, I'd like to really thank you for the work you've done, Kenny, for your dedication to helping people really use your minds and your work with CSI. We certainly wish you well and all the stuff that you're doing, and we'll want to continue on like that. I noticed a couple email conversations going around independent of this. So thanks so much for being on with us today.
You're welcome. And I mean, if anything, I hope you guys got some tips and tricks on what to look for and spot, and maybe a better idea of how to explain it. Because sometimes you can spot something that's fake or that's off, but it's difficult to explain what it is. And I found that over the years. And that's why I keep learning. That's why it says never stop learning. I keep reading about it because the better you understand a subject, the better equipped you are to explain what's going on. And I think that's the goal for all of us. That's my goal is to educate the public and to help the public and anyone that wants help to better recognize when they're being scammed, or to be able to look at claims, whether extraordinary or not, from from my house is haunted by 1,000 demons to this cleaning liquid will clean any stain that you have, that anything from blood to mud to whatever.
Yep.
You know, like, we have questions, and if they're making these big claims, we need to be able to weed out what's going on, ask the right questions, spot differences, spot mistakes, and help each other out to be better at what we're all doing.
Yeah, thanks so very much. Unless Becky or Wes have anything else to add, I guess we can close it out here, and I wish everyone better rest of your days, and we'll all, as individuals or groups who are in, try to help people use their minds a little.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks a
Thanks
lot,
for
Kenny.
asking. You're welcome.
Thanks so much. Bye all. Some of you all continue on with email.
Bye-bye.